Like John Deere, right? You got the John Deere striking workers that actually absolutely cumstered the management recently. So shouts out to them.
Wait, is that a new verb? Cumstered? Did you say cumstered? Is that a thing? Can you cumster someone? Is that like a mix of cum and dumpster? Like cumstered? Oh, I'm learning so many new terms. I'm such a baby sometimes when it comes to these new languages. It's debate time, everybody. Bum 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 bum. I'm sorry, I can't really hype this up in the same way. So maybe we'll just have Gilbert Gottfried do it.
Tax your mind! Tax your mind! Tax your mind! Tax your mind! Mortal Kombat! Fight!
Should do the cocaine cactus dance to that. Hey everybody, by the way, did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy it? Did you know that was Lame Genie? Did you know Lame Genie also did the soundtrack? Oh, hypocrite alert. I hadn't even subbed with the Better Horse account. Did the soundtrack of the new documentary we did on Gamergate. Here's a link to Lame Genie if you want to share it with your friends and go hit that subby button because it goes a long way to helping them out. Anyways, let's check out, because now we're sufficiently satiated. We have the bloodlust, okay? Let's check out how this debate goes.
There's some direct connection between the attempt to create a Marxist utopia and starvation, authoritarianism, and I think I know what this is in actual.
No, totally, dude. Yeah, they do it on purpose. They love doing it.
Yeah. So I'm not I'm not a Marxist. I don't agree with Marxists. I might even fight Marxists. But so let's fight. But this guy,
what's up with you, dude? You trying to fucking fight people? Like, just fight
you're
Joe
the one
Manchin.
who wants the gauntlet.
Yeah, but we're fucking Joe Manchin, like people that are actually in the seat of power, not like fucking random dickhead Marxist-Leninists on the internet.
But
or
these,
Joe Rogan.
But these right wingers, when they come out with like Marxists just want to starve you, why would they want that? Why would they want that? That's so dumb.
Well, he's going to describe it to you and fucking wreck you in the marketplace of ideas. Are you ready for this?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
He's going to destroy you.
Question of groups.
I'm gonna guess Venezuela, maybe Venezuela, Cuba, Venezuela, something around that, I assume.
Selection, which is because these systems are game theoretically unstable.
Just throw shit up against the wall.
They're game theoretically unstable, and that's just the theory. A game theory. Like, shut the fuck up, dude. What is this?
Shit, man. Hashtag Dark Horse, man. This guy's...
And then these fucking idiots will like watch and go, that's actually great. That's brilliant. Thank you.
They don't have any idea what he's saying.
I'm gonna confirm this, by the way. Every single time I've ever made fun of Jordan Peterson and posted like a Jordan Peterson meme, especially, man, the reply guys, Jordan Peterson reply guys, all of them are obsessed with IQ, and all of them are like, excuse me, but the intellectual superiority of the good doctor would destroy you at any given time. I bet you don't even register in the 80th percentile of IQs. You're like, Jesus Christ, it's a fucking meme. Chill. You weirdos.
Neither does he.
Because they punish those who do more and reward those who do less in order to get.
It's just like, first of all, this notion that the most productive citizens in society are those who actually own the capital rather than the ones that literally do the productive labor is psychotic and completely fucking diametrically opposed to the reality, okay? Without them, shit doesn't work. I know you're a capitalist, so you of course think like replaceable labor automatically means it's not important or...
I mean, this is tough. because obviously both of them want to make fun of Brett Weinstein, because he's just like he's a bit of a clown. So they're both going to want to, but they're going to be a little bit in opposition here, because Cenk is a proud capitalist. He lives like a capitalist every single day. So this one's going to be tough.
As important as like fucking
I don't say
the
that.
CEO or whatever the fuck.
No, it's 50-50. It's a nuanced, complicated thing that's not as simple as labor does all of the work, and it's certainly not as simple as these baboons talking about, oh, who gives a shit about labor? We don't.
Labor,
need
literally,
that.
there's no value without labor.
But yeah, I agree.
Okay, then you
but there's
understand.
also
I've felt like 2 or 3 times this has been like on just the cusp of spice. You know, it's just been like, yeah, I know. Come on, we're kind of on the same team here. You know, that we're just testing the waters out. You know, I'm not gonna say the line. Don't worry, Cenk. You know, cut a liberal and I'd be cutting my uncle. So I'm not gonna say that. You know, I'm just gonna say that we're having a it's Thanksgiving. You know, it's Thanksgiving.
no value without capital and without management.
Wait,
so,
what? Yes, 100. What do you mean? There's no,
No, eventually
value
there has to be.
Oh, gone, shattered. It's over. Now it begins. Fuck! I should put the Mortal Kombat music back on.
Management. If you have labor, you
Okay,
have to
that
have
doesn't
management.
mean okay.
And you can't do
Having
anything without
having a
capital.
bottom-up approach and having like a labor-first approach does not mean that there's no like managerial.
Yeah, that we're saying this.
There is no management whatsoever. Okay.
Yeah,
Credit to Hasan. No, you're not. I'm sorry, Cenk.
you need management. That's why
Okay,
I'm saying
well-
you need both.
You should. Cenk is right. You should let him teach you economic theory. Thank you, XQC4.
Okay, let's hear this shit though.
But like, as far as the value of like, what I'm talking about is in our heavily financialized economy. What value does the capital owner shareholder, like the majority shareholder, add to the product?
Oh, what up, Vaush? Hey, Vosh Vidjas. Welcome in, Raiders. Good to see all of you. We are actually just in the middle of watching the opening soupçon, if you will, of the Cenk versus Hasan debate that went down yesterday on Thanksgiving, the holiest of days, the Turkey Day. That's right, there was a battle amongst the family members between the libs and the left, and it all got provoked by Brett Weinstein, of all people. That's not good. That's not God. Well, that's not what I meant to say, but it's certainly not good. Hey, everyone, can you help out a small independent streamer who's really struggling for viewers these days? Twitch.tv/VoshVidya. Give him a follow back, just because, you know, it'll really help out. Hey, and also, while you're here, if you would like, come to the Serfs.tv. You can jump into the chat over there. You'll see your name pop up on screen. You'll feel famous. You can get the spinning Dix emote, all that kind of stuff. You don't have to support the Amazon network. You can come over to our independent. I mean, you're most likely if you're from the Vosh pit, you probably already have White Leaf. You use it. Hey, did y'all know? I only found this out from White Nervosa the other day. White Leaf is a registered worker fucking cooperative. Yes, that's right. Fucking based ass poggies. That's what the kids say, right? Based ass poggies. It's pretty based ass poggies. But anyways, thank you so much for the raid, Vosh. I really appreciate it. Yeah, everyone, buckle up, because things are just getting spicy. They're just starting to spice up. You know, this is If you want parasocial feelings, it's the place to be. It certainly is. And if you have $1 to spare, if you sub in the new chat, none of the money goes towards Amazon, which is also very nice. Very nice. And if you have VDS and you are here as part of a hate raid, and you were just there because you hated Vosh so much and you were watching him, but now you're stuck watching some other person, you can rage out over in the new chat. Just go over there and start typing out Vosh bad. No one will stop you. We will stop you if you're going to be racist or transphobic or stuff like that. That'll get you banned. But if you just want to have some dissenting opinions, come on down. It'll be fun. You need an app with the pop-out mode for mobile users, please. Our greatest minds are currently working on it. Again, it is a small independent worker cooperative that is programming White Leaf. So there's that. So it's slow, but updates are coming. We fixed the emote problem that was happening a little while ago because I just uploaded too many emotes. I went emote wild as soon as I was like, wait, I have unlimited emotes. I can make them free for everyone. So I ended up adding like 100, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, it's crashing because the code can't compile all these emotes. The servers can't hold it. Lance, so I had to shave down a good like, I don't know, 50 of them, but now they're working, and they animate too, which is nice. So that's too many emotes. All right, too many emotes. I got emote. I had the greed, the emote greed. It happens to the best of us, There you go. But anyways, yeah, welcome in everybody. Let's watch Family Feud because that's what we're in the middle of.
Itself, when you especially compare them to the value that the laborer provides. Like John Deere, right? You got the John Deere striking workers that actually fucking absolutely cumstered the management recently. So shouts out to them.
Wait, is that a new verb? Cumstered? Did you say cumstered? Is that a thing? Can you cumster someone? Is that like a mix of cum and dumpster? Like cumstered? Oh, I'm learning so many new terms. I'm such a baby sometimes when it comes to these new languages.
Like, you got those guys, okay? You got like 19 years
No way Cenk either understood or knows what was just said, okay? I'm doing a fucking Steve Buscemi, how do you do, fellow kids, right now. Why is he acting all aloof? Cumstered. Yeah, oh yeah, no, that's a word I frequently apply myself when discussing issues.
Elders and shit that are literally no longer working because they're striking, right? What the value that they create is tangible, it's obvious. What value does the shareholder who has never been inside of the fucking factory even have?
Yeah, that's easy.
Ross 2000 Jones, thank you for the 200 bits and the message Vosh bad, love Vosh. But I'm getting mixed emotions and mixed feelings here. Vosh bad, but you love Vosh. It sounds like a love-hate relationship. Those aren't healthy.
Easy. So you don't have to be inside the factory. Everybody's inputting.
Okay, but what value does the shareholder have?
Capital. He's providing capital for the company to do the things that they need to do.
So they can be substituted, is what you're saying.
Yeah, we're going to be watching it next.
100%.
By
That's the whole point of the stock market.
By like a worker fund.
Yeah, shareholders are enormously fungible. In the stock market, they're the most fungible part there is. There's no special thing about a shareholder. They're just a fungible thing but you need it, right? So, obviously you need all of the above, and then the question isn't whether you need any.
Okay, so I don't think they're going to get into the nitty-gritty of this, because what Hasan is ultimately going to be advocating for, and what Cenk seems to have a lot of issues with, is the idea that these corporations, massive corporations, mind you, they're going to need people at the top to be in managerial positions, because at the end of the day, not every single person can be someone who runs a company that has X amount of employees, thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not 100,000s of employees, sometimes millions if we're dealing with companies as large as, say, like Amazon or something like that. And what, of course, Hasan is advocating for is that the people who work in these companies, these factories, the widget producers, the workers, should also be co-owners in something that they work within. They should have democratic abilities to say vote. They should have democratic abilities to see what direction the company will go in, to advocate for what the workers should receive in terms of recompense, in terms of salary, all that kind of stuff. What you find in workplace democracies, such as worker cooperatives. The thing is, worker cooperatives are scalable. They're scalable to very, very large, and I know you've probably heard this a billion times, but Mondragon, as a certain Destiny calls it, Mondragon, the company in Spain, is actually an umbrella corporation. It's an umbrella cooperative of other worker cooperatives. And within that, there's obviously tons and tons of worker cooperative companies that work inside there. Those worker cooperative companies do have managers and boards, not in the exact same way that these traditional capitalist ones do, but they cap out at a certain amount. So you can work in a managerial position, you can direct a company, you can manage multiple people and their salaries and their jobs, because some people want to do that, and some people are wired that way. Some people are like, fuck no, are you kidding? I don't want that responsibility. I'm a baker. I love to bake. I want to bake bread. That's what I want to do. I want to wake up, I want to bake some bread, I want people to enjoy my yummy, delicious treat. Some of them might find a little special surprise inside. Ain't talking about what you think I'm talking about. I'm talking about weed. Anyways, that's what someone wants to do. That's their day. That's their job. Other people are like, I want to oversee the bakers to make sure that they're producing the right amount of bread, to make sure they're not coming in the bread, and to make sure that this bread is produced and is actually delicious and everyone receives this delicious product. That's what I want to do. That's my dream. And they get capped out. In Mondragon, they get capped out at about 6 to 8 times the salary of the employees. And they have to justify every single year when all the employees vote, because they have voting power about whether to get rid of that manager, if they are in fact justified in being paid that 8 times more salary, if they're doing that much more work, if they're having to do that much more stuff, if it's that much harder. The whole thing is a lot more democratic. And you like the democracy, right? You don't want to live in tyranny. You don't want to live in countries where you don't have any say as to who your elected leaders are. You want to be part of the process. The same thing in your job. Instead of spending 8 hours of your day, every single day, in a job you hate, in a job that you despise, working for someone you don't like, not earning anything outside of the base minimum salary because that's all they legally have to pay you, not getting benefits, maybe even worse, you're part of an app economy, so it's just you can work 24/7 around the clock. I mean, fucking turn on your Uber app and it's like 3 a.m. back to work, you little worker bees.
Any of those. The question is, how do you weigh them, right?
So how did they get the capital? The shareholder, how did he get the capital?
Well, there's a tons of different ways to get capital. A lot of it was illicit back in the day, right? And so
we are going to always arrive at one guy's grandfather decided we're going to do enclosures, and he was first to do that, okay? And that's it. Ultimately, there's no other fucking difference. If you go far back enough, there's going to be one guy who bopped the head of the other guy and said, enclosures, we're doing it, seems great. We should build a system and design it around this idea of private property. Okay? Ultimately, that's where it comes from.
Yeah. So, look. On the one hand, capital was derived in the past and in the present in awful ways. Extraction of oil, which destroys the planet, puts us externalities on the rest of us, etc. Right? And you go back to the kings. How the kings get it? They murdered everybody in sight and then declared themselves the king. And then they got all the money and then they passed it down. I get it, right? But at the same time, that doesn't get rid of the need to actually have that money to start up something. And management is useful and has its own use, right? To me, I'm both super biased, but I think at the same time it's true. There is a critical part of capitalism that actually does work and is important, which is founders. Okay, so I'm biased.
Yeah, but I think like Hasan's original question was, what do you think about, like, say you're a shareholder and you have enough shares to be able to be a voting member of the board or something like that, but you are a passive member, as in you are just using this as an investment tool because you just want to collect money at the end in the form of dividends every single year. So that's all you want to do, right? Hasan's question would be then, what are they contributing to the company? Versus the actual workers who are making the items that are being sold, that are generating the revenue that the shareholder is getting his sweet dividends from. So between those two people, who exactly is doing work for the company? And is it just? Is it just for us to have a system in which someone can, with a whole bunch of money, because they have it for whatever reason, okay, it could be benevolent, could be the one person in 100,000 success stories who just, worked hard their entire life, saved every penny, and eventually became the head of some giant fleshlight corporation. I don't know. But anyways, is that just? Is it just to do that?
Because I'm a founder, right? But founders are actually do something creative, create a company, produce. It's like being a producer. You produce a thing, right? In our case, it's shows, but it could be cars. It could
You're
be
also
anything.
a key man, though. So that's your value doesn't come from you being a founder. Your value comes from the audience that you've cultivated through your own personal labor. Now that labor is obviously is also produced by others as well. There's other workers underneath you that are helping you create that and generate that and whatnot. But ultimately, you could do what I'm doing and still be able to reach a level of success because you yourself, by working, would be able to do that. So that's entirely different than like the guy who's just who takes all of his money and puts it into and parks into the stock market. And is just sitting and
But I don't value that guy. I don't say like that guy's better than anyone else.
No, that guy is not a productive person, is what I'm saying. They're not a productive laborer, and society could perfectly exist without that guy. But someone would still have to fucking clean the toilets, and someone would still have to fucking guard the mansions, if that's what you guys want to fucking talk about. Someone would still have to fucking drive the cars. pick up the poop, pick up
All
the
that
trash.
is true, but
and also create commodities.
But you also need the capital, so it's not like that guy is not necessary. He's fungible, but necessary. You see what I'm saying? So it doesn't mean the shareholder is worth more than the labor. Absolutely not, right? But you do need both.
No, you only need both in a system where the majority of the wealth is in the hands of the few. You would not need that in a system that where you could collectively fund these sorts of enterprises. You absolutely could do that. There are countries that do that as well. There's different kinds of funds that like the labor pool can
He's fungible.
join into.
You know,
I can't hear the word fungible without thinking of things like fudge or fun. I'm 12.
Since capitalism is halfway getting us there, it's going to kill us before it gets us there. Okay, it's because the downsides of capitalism are now enormous and have totally run away, right? But
then how do you keep supporting it? I don't get it. Every single person who's like, no, like, you know, Cenk's smart, okay? He's like, I can recognize how unfettered, unregulated capitalism, and maybe he's in the group of people who call it crony capitalism, when they're all of a sudden just like, oh, well, this is just crony capitalists, the bad ones, but the good ones, you know, like myself and you, Hasan, we're the good kind, so, you know, we're all right. But if you are astute enough to pick up that, like, okay, well, the current way and model of our economic system, and, you know, if you extrapolate it, add all the externalities as well, if you add all the other elements of it, if you look at it from its birth all the way along and get through, let's say, industrialized capitalism all the way to, like, late stage capitalism, add in corporations. So we have corporate capitalism now as well, and these elements have become these enormous untethered beasts who are just too big to fail. Like, that's the actual expression in relation to them, and they're propping up our entire fake economy because it's all just a bunch of fake numbers. We know that now thanks to cryptocurrency and NFTs. But anyways, you take all that and you're like, yeah, it's gonna kill us. Wouldn't you want to be like, okay, well then shouldn't we fundamentally change this? If we're able to isolate and identify this very serious problem, why don't we do something about it?
But how do you survive? How do we survive? In a lot of ways, we crowdfund, right? We
Crypto debunked the stock market. It's true.
Our capital, right? And so is that system possible? Definitely.
Yeah.
Is it preferable? Probably, right? But we haven't fully built it yet. We don't have the infrastructure for it yet, but we're slowly building it. But that is also happens through markets.
We're not slowly building it. The reason why we're not slowly
Yeah, I was
building
like,
it is the
where does
same
that come
reason
from?
why you look at like FDR as a hero, right? Because you refuse to recognize that external pressures is precisely the reason why FDR operated the way he did. Both domestically with the trade unionists, communists, like an actual fucking robust communist movement.
I'm curious if Cenk would be as agreeable if they weren't on Hasan's show, because this is the closest I've seen to Cenk being anti-capitalist. Like being like, oh, you know, I'm still capitalist, but I'm willing to acquiesce on these points. I'm willing to admit this, you know. It could be because you've also got like 30,000 people who are staring at you, just like, say it, say the line.
But also internationally as well, like seeing the rise of communism and wanting to at least enact some sort of welfare state policies and social safety nets to stop that revolutionary action dead in its tracks, to offer people some crumbs. And without that, which we don't have anymore, we have no counterbalance, like we have no revolutionary force on this planet. Without any of that, we're not going to magically move towards offering
I bet
more,
Anna would call out Cenk some
power
takes if they were in TYT.
and even a larger piece of the profits back to the workers. This is just not going to happen. Just like without unions and union power, we're not going to get there either. So it's just like...
Yeah, but that part I don't necessarily disagree with. I don't think it's magic. I think it happens in the way that you're seeing it happen literally in our case, right? But at the same time, yeah, external pressure is enormously important. There's no way FDR would have done what he did without that pressure. There's no way LBJ would have done what he did on civil rights without external pressure. And so, you know, if you're talking about the reality of like how that change got done, it's an ugly reality because they were worried about riots. They were worried about
Hasan said Cenk is a sock dem. Okay, but we should have a really frank talk about what it is to be a sock dem, because I feel that word has gone the way of so many others on the internet that is losing all meaning. You can't just say, well, I'm a sock dem, because it sounds less cringy than saying I'm a liberal, right? Or less cringy than saying I'm a neolib at the end of the day, but then not support, say, any politician who is remotely advocating for sock dem policies in America. So if you're like, I'm a sock dem, but I decided not to ever support Bernie Sanders, AOC, or any other member who is advocating for sock dem policies because I consider them to be unrealistic. And also be like, I'm a sock dem, but I don't know. If an actual sock dem from like a Nordic country was to tell you about some of the policies that go on there, you would be like, oh, what? No, no, that sounds like communism to me. No. I just think that we should have, some kind of tariff system, cap and trade. Sounds pretty good. Maybe expand Medicare in America, and maybe let's start having some kind of, maybe a softening of student loan debt by a little bit, something that we can means test. I want lots of means testing as well, so means testing sounds fucking amazing. Yeah, I'm a sock dem, 100% sock dem, baby, all the way around. Like, if you look at the actual social democrat policies of Nordic countries and compare them, like, they're not even comparable to the things that Bernie Sanders is advocating for, because Bernie Sanders is trying to reach what I would consider to be realistic proportional goals in the United States. But then like half the internet now, all these people, all these Twitter accounts with fucking little socks, and it's always a little sock emoji followed by a globe emoji. They're just reiterating the biggest neoliberal talking points, like time and time again. I'm always like, do you know what a social democrat is? Like, is it just a buzzword now? Is it just so like you get to wash your hands of being a lib or wash your hands of being a neoliberal? It's like, well, I feel a little bit better about myself. I mean, hey, I'm a sock dem, baby. Come on. Nimiki says she's debating Dan Bongino. What? Oh, that's pretty based. About to debate Dan Bongino in a van down by the East River. Where can one watch this? Is he bringing lemons? Oh, I'm excited. That's a good. No, sock dem wants capitalism plus a strong social safety net, but I agree with Lance's overall point that half the internet all think they're sock dems, but they're neolibs. Yeah, sock dems are still capitalists. You still get to have the capitalist badge. You don't lose that. But at the end of the day, it's a massive amount of taxation, both on corporations and on individuals, in order to pay for a vast welfare state, an enormously powerful welfare state. You have to remember, and by the way, these are the same countries that always get registered as like the happiest on earth. So clearly these policies are working. But some of the things that they do, like, it's not just student debt forgiveness. Like, that's not a sock dem policy. It's that post-secondary education, your university degree is free. On top of which, those countries will pay you to go to university, so that you don't have to have a secondary job while you're trying to study for finals. You just get money from the government. I know, it's wild, it's zany, but if you were to propose that to some figures on the internet like Destiny, he'd probably be like, yeah, well, fuck, stop telling me about your leftist socialist bullshit, Lance. I was like, no. This is what happens in Denmark. I have been there. I've spoken to the Danes. I've heard it firsthand on their accounts to people who went to university because it was A, free, and B, were paid by the government to do it. Like, that's way better than Canada. In Canada, it's way cheaper than the US. Like, university is going to cost you about $32,000 for your degree. In America, it can be anywhere between $100,000 to $300,000 for your degree. But anyways, it's cheaper in Canada, but it fucking isn't free, and it certainly isn't something they pay you to do. And like, don't even get me started on the prison system or mental health. Holy shit. When I would meet Danes who had traveled to Canada or New York, the funniest thing was talking to Danish or Swedish people in New York who were just like, I was like, how do you like it? They're like, oh, it's an incredible city. It's beautiful. But I just really got to ask, why are people with mental issues walking around in the streets? And you're like, what? It's like, yeah, there's all these people who clearly should be getting help, but they're all just everywhere. And you're like, oh, well, yeah, because they can't afford to get help for that. It's like, what do you mean they can't afford it? It's like, well, they don't have jobs, or their jobs don't pay enough, or their jobs don't have insurance, so they can't afford to get that thing you're talking about. It's like, wait, what? What do you mean they personally can't afford it? You mean society can't afford it, or what? Oh no, society's super rich. Oh, it's so rich. This is actually funny story. This is the richest country in the world, in the whole planet. Yeah, you're in it right now. That's America. Yeah, it's the richest one. So why are you letting all this happen? It doesn't make sense to me. Like, it just couldn't compute or process, you know? It's like investing in your citizens. Yeah. Well, it's that thing, right? Do you want Band-Aid solutions? Do you want after the fact to have to be like, well, it's funny. We have all these really high rates of crime, and it seems like there's a consistent theme in a lot of them. It's either domestic abuse or it happens to be people who have untreated mental health issues. And it seems that these conclusively consider to reproduce in society a whole bunch of terrible things that lead to, again, crime, violence, and stuff like that. Poverty plays a huge risk factor as well. The impoverished people will oftentimes steal in order to feed themselves or to get the drugs they need because they are now addicts. What do you have to say about all this, society? It's like, we need more caps. We need to spend more money on caps and military. So half the city's budget should go to caps, and then I guess domestic spending, a lot of it should go to military. We need that to continue the resource extraction on a global scale. Sorry, this is my rant on sock dems, but this is one of the problems. If you are genuine sock dems, that's a beautiful thing. Hey, I am for sock dems. I think sock dems, when I originally saw the sock dem socks as the emote on Twitter, I was like, that's fucking cute as shit, all right? That's cute as buttons. I'm all about y'all, okay? I have an open door policy. I mean, you're not as further left as I want, but fuck, we need allies in every way, shape, or form. I'm even down to throw the door open to some open-minded libs, and then we'll just mold them like fine little pieces of clay. But like, the fact that people are calling them sock dems and I have conversations with them and I'm like, you're not a sock dem, you're just a Democrat. Why are you calling yourself a social democrat? You're just, drop the social part. You're a Democrat. You're just a Biden loving Democrat. You're just a Mayor Pete Democrat, you know?
About physical strikes that got pretty heated.
No, democratic socialism is more based.
In the case of FDR and in the case of LBJ, it was the riots. And so was there a role for Malcolm X? Yeah. Did it make a difference? Yes. So people don't like to admit that. It's true. And so I'm not disagreeing with you on that. And in a way, you could even argue, as I think you partly are, that FDR was helping to save the current system. Otherwise,
he was.
Yeah.
That's what like Marxist-Leninists.
It was a compromise. Keynesian economics is a compromise.
You know, revolutionary action see the welfare state as counterproductive. They think that the welfare state is offering a level of comfort to the workers that sedates them and helps them think, like the SDP did in Germany, in the pre-Nazi Germany, that they.
No, I haven't
like
put a dive. I gotta check that out.
At the table, they have a crumb of power, and they're seeing like genuine material changes, no matter how fucking tiny it is. So they just no longer want to fight back in the ways that truly. In the ways that where you can truly change the way that we organize our society.
That's a really legitimate and interesting critique. And and it depends on what you mean by welfare state. So if you're talking about food stamps, that's even more true. But then how brutal are you going to be in denying that to try to hope for a revolution, right?
Yeah, no, I am not an accelerationist anyway. I don't think that we will ever accelerate towards a fucking Marxist-Leninist revolution. The material conditions are not there. I think that like. It's an outdated way of thinking. We don't even have any.
Good, because accelerationists, they're pretty fucked up when you think about it in fundamental principle. Like at the end of the day, I want things to get so bad that it galvanizes people and makes the change that I'm looking for. And you're like, wait, what? Like you want people to have mass starvation, to suffer, to die in order to start this revolution that are you yourself going to be helping to organize in any way, shape, or form? It's like, nah, I gotta type on Twitter today. I'm angry. Just got some demons to get off my fingers, but let's go. Accelerationism is pretty based ass poggies. Trump 2024, y'all. I've got like a fucking communism emote in my name.
Sort of organizational power and commodity production in the way it's done now, especially in the Western world when it's so far removed from the when the labor aristocracy is so far removed from the assembly line that like it's just not going to happen. Our labor force has been pussified, if you will, and no longer like is actually fucking working in the factory. So it makes it much more difficult to actually organize because you're working white collar jobs for the most part.
Right.
Okay, so here's the disagreement I'm going to have with Hasan. The nature of work over time changes. There are some fundamental jobs that stay the same. They probably will for a very long time. But with automation, all right, especially with automation, we usually have a very big change in the dynamic between how people operate and work. Now, the higher level, or what do we call them, the PMCs, the professional managerial class, people, especially during the pandemic, this became woefully obvious, people who were able to work from home, just basically with an internet and a computer, were going to statistically do way better than people who had to be on the front line. People who worked as grocers, people who worked as, nurses, doctors, all that kind of stuff. Teachers, especially, stuff like this, right? So the nature of work changes. And I'm about to be interrupted by my dog at some point, so prepare for a couple paws. Oh no, is he just going to come chill? You just going to hang out? Yeah. Cute. I missed you. Yeah. Oh, just going to look up solemnly. So wise. So much more wise. Anyways, sorry, I'll stop being distracted by the cuteness of his face. As the jobs change, you're promised something, right? If we have more automation, it's going to give human beings more free time. It's unfortunate, but the opposite became true. People actually started to work and now work more now ever than before. A lot of that has to do with things like the app economy. You can have people who work 24/7, delivering new food, delivering new from point A to point B in cars, all this kind of stuff. The automation itself, because we never did anything like impose taxation upon robotics, we didn't impose taxation on automation, ends up replacing a whole bunch of jobs. They used to be shipped overseas, and then it became cheaper to just have robots do it domestically. And so that's basically what happens to the labor force. As the labor force changes and evolves, if we had a just society, not one that was focused solely on quarterlies, then of course you would see something like a massive amount of redistribution of the amount of money that was lost in that labor force, then put back into the populace or put back into the workers themselves, who may not have to work as much anymore in that particular field or job, or could get trained into doing something entirely different. We're not sure. Making one field obsolete, like say coal extraction, and then evolving that into something new through a trainings program, say like modern nuclear power, something that is desperately needed right now. But anyways, as that changes and evolves, we're not doing as a society what is necessary in order to make sure that people will get what is well, I don't want to say what's coming to them because I still think it's justified, but we're not taking care of them as individuals. Like that's Andrew Yang tapped into something that a lot of people hadn't thought about, and that was, of course, the concept of what's going to happen to the trucking industry. We're talking hundreds of thousands of jobs, American blue-collar worker, good old-fashioned hard jobs where you're driving 24/7 in a long truck. That is eventually going to be completely replaced by automatic driving trucks. They already exist. It's whether or not now they're legally allowed to be on the road because Elon Musk and, splat, all that kind of stuff. But that is true. And it's not just the truckers' jobs who will be completely lost. It's the entire industry that evolves around the truckers, or revolves, I should say, around the truckers' jobs. All of a sudden, you've got a whole bunch of trucks that are filled with truckers, that have truck stops, that have restaurants, that have sex workers, that have hotels, that have all this stuff that is based entirely on this influx of human beings moving in these cycles, and everything that is going to be built around that, that is all going to be lost as well. So what happens to all of that? Where does it go? Because as a society, we're not concerned with how these things are built or structured. Everything is about these individual corporations, them maximizing their profits in any way they can, and has been. That's the fucking American dream. It used to be your company does really well, it grows, and all of a sudden you've got all this success, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, it's way cheaper if we manufacture these Nike shoes in an area where no one really cares if kids are the ones making them. So can we do that? Okay, cool. So plant closes, thousands of Americans lose their jobs, the plant goes overseas to a country where, of course, labor is way cheaper, as are workers' rights not as stringent, and then all of a sudden the shoes are manufactured for way less cost, we ship them back to America, people still buying them, we're making even more money, it's beautiful. Then it turns out if we have a couple robots who make it, we don't have to pay them anything, we just have to maintain and do upgrades, which is way cheaper than human labor. Okay, so now we got the robots that make the shoes even cheaper now, we're making even more profits, things are beautiful, the endless pursuit of profit, quarterlies going up, line goes up. Something like UBI is absolutely going to be necessary in the future, but I'm talking, like, if you're going to talk about universal basic income, it has to be real universal basic income, not the Yang Gang version where it's like, let's erode every social safety net that exists in America. If we can just get rid of Medicare, Medicaid, and welfare and all this kind of stuff, we can replace it with $2,000 a month, because that's all it takes if you happen to have any kind of a medical emergency. Sure, $2,000 a month, there you go.
But there are things that can lead to structural and institutional change that are part of the quote-unquote welfare state.
Also the other part is this is actually a brilliant take from Murat. You'll enjoy this. Murat always talks about the bread price. He says, no matter where you go in America, the price of bread is stable and it's cheap. And he's 100% right. He's like, as long as that bread price is the same and people at the very the people that have the most revolutionary potential are still able to feed themselves, which Americans can, by the way, no matter how poor they are, and no matter how much medical bankruptcy exists and whatnot, and no matter how much cruelty and oppression we subject the working class here in America to, ultimately, as long as they can fucking buy bread and eat bread, and bread is an analogy here for food for the most part, they will never fucking rise up and engage in labor militancy or have any sort of violent, bloody revolution.
No, the Morat theory on bread is excellent, and you'll see it play out in milk a lot, where they'll actually have a lot of news stories about the price of milk, and it happened recently too. But in a sense, Obama is the political version of that. You just do a little release valve, right? Just release the pressure a little bit so you can maintain the overall brutality of the system while pretending to do a tiny bit of change. So yeah, and they've done a.
Wow, Cenk, this is the most revolutionary I've heard of you. You should be going on to streams more often. Let's check this out for a second.
Great job of keeping us at barely sustaining wages and prices.
Yes, just well fed enough to not recognize that they're starving you, but still starved enough that you don't have the power to fight back.
Totally. In fact, I think that's why the right wing is going towards, they're losing their minds because they know they're getting fucked with, and they're not wrong about that. The system is fucking with them. It is rigged. It is corrupt, right? But their reaction has been, so it must be the lizard people, and let's go do weirdo random violence that doesn't have anything to do with anything, right? And then people come in and grifters take advantage of that, right? But what we need is a left-wing alternative that actually gives people a way to, constructive way to change the system and rebuild it. But the right wing is not wrong that the system's fine.
Yeah, that's why I think the revolution.
Man, stream once with Hasan. Hey, kids, don't try it. Not even one time. Okay? You see what happens? You stream once with Hasan, you get to the Hasan house, fucking revolutionizes people instantaneously. Link to the music? Yeah, hold on. I gotta resize this. Making Cenk full screen was tough on the old processor, you know? I don't have the mega computer like Hasan does. That's ILO 07, I think. Yeah, there it is.
Revolutionary potential only exists in the third world, if we're being real. If we're being really real, the only places where there's actual revolutionary potential is the third world. It's the exploited people, because here in the United States, whether we'd like to admit it to ourselves or not, we still benefit greatly from the extraction of natural resources from the third world, and we benefit greatly from the imperialist conquest of the United States. We reap the benefits of that. Some people openly recognize it, some people don't. But it still lives in the back of our minds whenever we think, well, I'm happier living here in the United States than in fucking, Zimbabwe. And that's what it is. That's the reality. So
there's a lot of truth to that. The only thing I saw in the comment section is somebody said something along the lines of, I'm a Muratist. Yeah, and I'm down for that. Okay, let's watch that in I still haven't seen George.
People who are harmed by that is to say those who tend to contribute more and are therefore punished by such a system, to adhere to it, you have to threaten them.
Right, they're unplayable games, and you have to enforce.
This is such an incredibly simple point of view on organizing under a more centralized system, or socialism, or communism, or even a social democracy, if you will. It's silly. It's like a childish way to look at this.
I don't force them by force because people discover they're unplayable.
Right.
Yeah. Game theorists are interested in the repeatability of interactions, and some forms of interactions degenerate with time. Those aren't sustainable. They're not good games. As you play them, you get bored by them or hurt by them. You don't want to keep playing. Some games maintain themselves. And
I actually tried to bring up labor vouchers and how we could realistically implement them with man-hour calculations and corporate bonds for co-ops. Don't think they saw it though. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, that was what Marx spoke of. He spoke about a transitional period between his proposed systems. He hadn't actually, people usually think there's supposed to be some kind of linear line of growth. It starts out with capitalism, then you get to socialism, then you get to communism. But that was actually Stalin who differentiated between those systems. Marx called it lower and higher forms of socialism. But at either rate, he did speak about an initial transitional phase in which you would have things like labor vouchers. And that would make sense sense, especially as you move rapidly towards automation and stuff of that nature. People whose jobs will become completely, I don't use the word pointless, but they're just going to not exist anymore. Like that same labor and skills training and all that kind of stuff is just not going to be required if you have automation taking care of it.
We have an ethic that teaches us when we're playing a sustainable game. I think that's the voice of conscience. Your Marxism, as it's instantiated, is actually an unplayable game, and you gave a reason. You can't set up a system that punishes people that are productive and rewards people who aren't. Even
rewards people who aren't productive. What does that even mean? So they're just calling everyone who works unproductive.
Yeah, no, the entirety of the working class are unproductive, which is ironic because it's the exact inverse of that is true. If we are comparing someone who is a capital holder, a capital owner, if we're comparing them to a fucking worker, that person is actually a productive part of the productive labor force. No commodities will ever be produced without the worker. No value will ever be created without the worker. That worker might be replaceable, okay? But the entire point of solidarity and the entire point of fucking labor union organizing and the entire point of socialism is to demonstrate that, like, we have more to fucking win if we unite side by side and show that, like, yeah, we might have a easier barrier of a lower barrier of entry into becoming laborers, but ultimately if we fucking unite, without us, you have nothing, you have no value, and you have no fucking productive forces. So it's ridiculous to say the opposite is true, though, but they say it regularly because they suckle on the capitalist teat. That's how they make money. They make money by saying the system that we are existing under is the best possible organization of the economy. The system that we're existing under is good, and one day you too can also be rich. You just have to have the alpha brain, rich guy mindset. They're no different than the fucking Deepak Chopra for white dudes, or Deepak Chopra is also he also targets white dudes as well, but they're no different than doing goop for white kids. Okay.
So the great irony here is that they're almost all these guys are funded
That's
by
actually pretty funny.
right? So they don't actually have to fend for themselves. I think Crowder is an exception. I think he's actually popular. Instead of Rogan is certainly an exception. But most of the Dave Rubins, I don't know Jordan Peterson's story in specific, but the Ben Shapiro's, etc., they literally get funded by really wealthy capitalists to do propaganda for them, which then ironically makes them labor. And so they're arguing against themselves because they're fungible. Who cares if it's Dave Rubin or Jordan Peterson or
British
or
Toaster,
whoever
right?
else? You could, according to their own argument, you could just flip them out. They're irrelevant. They're puppets.
Is Crowder popular? Steven Crowder is the largest independent news channel on YouTube. The single largest one. It goes him, then, I mean, if you combine Tim Pool's channels, Tim Pool is going to be second or third, but it goes him, TYT, then it goes Tim Pool of some manifestation. But yes, yeah, Steven Crowder is very, very, very popular online.
Right? So they're making a hilariously ironic argument. Okay, but the thing is, guys,
yeah, they also have enough material wealth to be able to fucking become capital owners as well.
If you suck on that teat long enough.
Yeah, and
yes.
they have, dude. Come on. He's a couple $1 million. Like, he could just very easily fucking shut this operation down and, get addicted to benzos and go live in Russia for a couple of years as his fucking daughter, the true dragon of chaos, almost fucking murders him by trying experimental benzo addiction therapy in Russia because it's not allowed in America because it can fucking kill you if you quit benzos cold turkey. Or even after that, when you're not fucking
benzos,
murdered
apparently.
by the fact that you did this experimental therapy in Russia, then maybe your Dragon of Chaos daughter will give you COVID because she's at a Serbian nightclub with her boyfriend who she got a fucking entire tattoo.
True. Hey, you should also salt this, and I choose my words carefully, with the fact that she's also had him on this meat-only diet. Do you know how fucking miserable that sounds? Like, don't get me wrong, okay? Like, and we're going to talk about veganism after this, but like, I loves a good steak. I loves a medium rare steak, and I know it's terrible for the environment. It's cruel as fuck to do it. Fine, all right, vegans, you are right. All vegans, you are completely right. I will not dispute you. I cannot think of anything more miserable than to eat nothing but fucking meat. Fully cooked, well done meat and salt for the rest of my days. I would rather drink fucking Soylent. Yes, I would rather have Soylent, because at least that is probably going to give me a more rounded experience in terms of, like, nutrition than just fucking steak. It's why sailors got scurvy, because they didn't have access to fresh fruits or vegetables. Get their vitamin C. Just eating steak all day. That is so fucking disgusting. And yet, she put Jordan Peterson on it. And, like, you can lie, okay? You can lie to Joe Rogan. You can go on the Joe Rogan Power Hour and just be like, well, yes, I was having some of this apple cider, and then I was dreaming manifestations of chaos. I could see my grandmother's pubes again, and all this kind of stuff. I know in your heart of hearts, it's the steak, okay? It's you eating steak 24/7, day in, day out, having nothing but fucking steak and salt. Yeah, you're gonna have some weird fucking visions, okay? Some horrifying shit's gonna happen to you because the body's not, well, yeah, and literal horrifying shit. I remember when Dr. Joe Rogan started trying to do the all-meat diet because it's just like, oh, the carnivore diet, bro, yeah, bro, let's flex. And all of a sudden was making all these Instagram posts, can't stop pooping myself. Does anyone else have this? Is it alpha to shit yourself in public 4 times a day? Just asking for the bros, asking for the boys, hit me up. Like, what the fuck?
Tool, by the way. Sorry, all of those things that I mentioned is real, by the way.
I missed whose daughter this is.
Mikhail Peterson, Jordan Peterson's sexy ass daughter, who's like married to some fucking like psychotic Serbian dude. Almost murdered her, Jordan Peterson, like twice.
All right, but one more thing.
I wonder if Cenk knew any of this. It's just like, I don't know what the fuck Hasan is talking about, and or smoking. Subscribe, TYT Live. You know what you're talking about, baby.
So they make this insane argument that labor is fungible. Yes, well, there's some relative truth to that. On the other hand, there's literally nothing more fungible than capital. It's the most replaceable thing in the world. It's just money. So you don't need any one particular person with money. You just need you need capital to start something and to maintain something, but it doesn't have to be from any one person. So their argument against labor can be used against them 1,000-fold.
Yeah, the argument can't be used against labor as long as there's solidarity. They're just benefiting from the fact that there is no solidarity and no class consciousness because of centuries of Red Scare propaganda and the complete destruction of any sort of fucking communist project or socialist project that has ever happened around the planet. So shouts out to the American state.
I know people in chat were saying that, Cenk is usually like this. I disagree. I think this is the furthest left I've ever seen Cenk nodding and smiling to that sentence that Hasan, unless he's just intimidated. If this whole thing is just a bully play where it's like, you got like 33,000 people watching you. That's a fucking stadium, by the way, everybody. If you've ever been to a hockey game or like, a football match or something and you've got like 30,000 humans, that's what's staring at Hasan 24/7. It's just a stadium of people in there and he's in the very, very middle on his computer every single day. So that's what's happening. If that's maybe playing into this, that could be a part of it. But I mean, he's nodding. He's going, yep. I think we have to go back to
State Department for that. Shouts out to Stalin for that too, to some degree. It just like didn't work out.
So let me see the rest of this game through.
Even if some of the people are only miming productivity and they're actually power-hungry tyrants, you can't clump them in with the competent people and punish all of them.
Yep. Now, and if you try, in order to stabilize it, in order to get those who are being punished for contributing not to defect, you have to threaten them so that authoritarianism follows quickly on the heels, as does in many cases the failure of the system to deliver even basic well-being, hence starvation.
Well, and Piaget pointed out quite explicitly.
Yeah, dude, shortages were never like... There's two things here. One, like famine, right? When we talk about socialism, immediately it's like famine, man-made famine, whether it's because of like centralized mismanagement, whether it's because of like idiotic fucking scientists who are the only Stalinist scientists remaining that haven't been fucking gulagged, giving horrifically wrong and idiotic ideas on how to do it, whether it's, there's a multitude of different reasons, or whether it's like stocking for a potential winter. There are a multitude of different reasons and mismanagement that causes situations like that, except we currently also have artificial shortages. Like 14 million people every fucking year die worldwide from famine and famine-related diseases. That happens in an economic organization that is so incredible at commodity production that we have a surplus of food. Like at least the socialist countries where there was fucking famine, like they didn't literally, they couldn't figure it out. Okay, they mismanaged it. Not deliberately starved the populace in an effort to make sure that like their bottom line was not, was not being attacked.
Right. I have my own issues with Marxism, as we've talked about, but in terms of their critique, it depends on your cohort, doesn't it? So like if you're talking about America, as the Moratists will point out accurately, yes, the price of bread is relatively stable, so people aren't going to starve, and that's part of the system that allows the capital to subjugate the laborers at a barely survivable wage. But if you're talking about the whole world, which is in effect under capitalism, well, to your point earlier, Haas, they They're taking from the southern hemisphere and often leaving them to starve for the northern hemisphere's benefit. So did capitalism really do a better job at ending starvation? No, by definition it didn't. These guys are just saying,
No, you don't
I don't
understand.
mind if they starve in Africa
No,
as
you
long
don't
as I'm
understand. You don't
okay.
understand. When people die of famine under a socialist organization of the economy, then that's the fault of the system. When people die of famine under a capitalist organization of the economy, that's the fault of their bootstraps. They could not find their bootstraps and they could not pull themselves.
Literally listened to TYT since like 2009. Cenk has an assortment of legit flaws, but he's always said things very similar to today.
First off, thank you for the 1,000 biddies and supporting the show in protest perhaps, but supporting it nonetheless. And because of what you just said, I'm going to kick things up a notch, all right? We're going to get real with this. I told you. This is going to be a little piece of beauty. Oh, what do we have here? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's make it big enough so you can move around in it a little bit. There we go. Now we're playing with fucking some hammer and sickle shit.
Up by their bootstraps, or if they found their bootstraps and pulled it, they didn't pull hard enough. Let alone man-made famines like in Bengal, or currently ongoing fucking famines like in Yemen, caused with American weapons by Saudi Arabia.
Oh,
It's
losing
just
it a bit.
It's always the we always relegate back to the individual and its individual responsibility. So under a capitalist organization economy, it's foolproof. You can never lose that argument then.
100%, billion% agree. The biggest famine in the world right now, as far as I know, is Yemen. And Yemen is caused by capitalism because the defense contractors needed more money, so they needed a war. Saudi Arabia wanted power, but they couldn't do it without the American defense contractors. So in order for the defense contractors to make an extra couple of $1 billion, they starved the people of Yemen. Yay, capitalism. So both systems have massive issues, and there needs to be some sort of balance, which does not exist. But these guys are jokers. They're not having a real conversation. This is just propaganda that they are ironically laborers for.
Yeah, they're
big head mode,
engaging in pro-capitalist propaganda. But that's the best thing about being like an easy. That's the best thing about being someone like a reactionary talking head is that like you don't really have to do too much.
No.
You can just say like the system is actually great. You can pull the Steven Pinker and be like, everyone can go to McDonald's, so obviously things are really good right now. And they're
don't do it.
Everyone has an iPhone, so things are actually better than they've ever been before. It's like, yeah, there's exponential growth of technology no matter which fucking system you exist under. You can say that the USSR had no technological achievements, going from an agrarian potato farming fucking economy to like one that defeated the United States in the space race. Just avoid all of that, all you want, but it's still the truth, right? And that could exist under socialism, that could exist under capitalism, that will always exist. The reality is making it more of an egalitarian society or one.
Oh, wait. A couple frames back. That was good. Yas! Tweet this out.
Or one that doesn't fucking completely rip through the third world.
All right, this one's almost over.
The USSR made a better rifle than the AR-15 back in 1947. That's also true.
He was very interested in games as the basis of morality, that a game that you have to punish people to adhere to is going to be outcompeted by a game that people will play by themselves.
That's a really interesting take. Is there any form of fucking is there any form of capitalism that is truly truly not compulsory, but truly
share it? I just did. I tweeted it out.
People doing it at the behest of their own, like they just want to do it. Is there any form of remuneration under a capitalist organization of the economy that doesn't happen at the threat of the structural violence of poverty? There is no voluntary fucking working under capitalism. Maybe there are in like Jordan Peterson's situation.
So it's a great point, Haas. And I watched.
Do you guys want to fucking work at the restaurant? Do you want to fucking clean people's toilets? No? Well, guess what? You're going to fucking die then, because you're not going to be able to put food on your table. You're not going to be able to put a fucking roof over your heads, and you're going to fucking die. And while you're dying, we're going to subject you to the most dehumanizing conditions in the process of your death while you're living in the fucking street and eating trash, okay? As you further and further fall into the cycle of despair and you fucking use drugs to self-medicate and try to like avoid the reality that you're existing in and how hellish it is, even though you're literally living in a zip code where some of the biggest fucking mansions exist and some of the wealthiest people exist. That's what you get if you don't fucking work under a capitalist organization of the economy.
In fact, that is almost exactly the point the Squid Games made.
Yeah.
Right? So is it really voluntary? Did they actually play Squid Games voluntarily? No, because the system itself was already so brutal that they thought Squid Games was a better option than the capitalism they were living with in that case in South Korea.
Yo, someone clip it and ship it to Tim Pool. That way Tim Pool won't start getting that entire fucking show wrong. My word. My word!
This will come down to who can deliver the lower propensity and mid propensity voters.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Just, we will build a ladder to heaven to deliver you the daily news. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are your most humble of clownish jesters. To our lords, Trevor R. and Alexander Thaler, you have our undying fealty. To our knights of the round table, Nate, that one guy, Hagbird Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariana McCarthy, Daniel Sutton, Ants Are Still Running the World, Coulter Smith, Tom Groh, Val 9000, Jenna Tal, Quiet 185, Anna Loves Riley, Riley and Anna, Omni, Poodlehawk, The Tim Caucus, Multimondi, Trevor Janis, Lemmy 101, Anthropophojack, Saren 42, Chronic to Hemphog, Catherine, Radical Maniac, Ramon Acosta, Incosin, Violent Orchard, Sophie Baby, Political Puppy, Andreas Chiringuito, Zach Christensen, Josh Mickelson, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. We shall meet you in the tavern, and we raise a drink, and we salute you.